Okay, really quickly, any conflicts? It's okay if you've already judged them, but if you know them somehow, that's no good.
Does anybody think they know either me or the jury members? No, I don't think so either.
Cousin, son, daughter, whatever. Okay, great. Then we're good to get started.
Great. Do we have any motions in limine?
We do have a few pretrial matters, Your Honor, but first, permission to make appearances before the court.
Permission granted.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good afternoon.
My name is Anaya Nelson, and today I, alongside my colleagues, Miss Ronnie Kane. Good morning, Your Honor.
Good morning.
And Miss Kiara Moo.
Good morning, Your Honor.
Good morning.
We represent the plaintiff in today's proceedings, Mr. Max Maximilian.
Great.
And we do have a few pretrial matters, but first, would you like to hear introductions from the defense?
No, let's hear your pretrial matters.
Yes, Your Honor. First, since this is the first time that we've had the pleasure of appearing in your courtroom, I'd like to quickly ask Your Honor's preferences for approaching opposing counsel, approaching the witness, and approaching the bench.
You may walk freely about the well. Please ask permission to approach the bench. And for the record, just announce that you are showing any exhibits to opposing counsel.
Yes, Your Honor. We'd also like to move to invoke Rule 603, which calls for the constructive swearing in of all witnesses, as well as Rule 615, calling for the constructive sequestration of all witnesses, barring party representatives. Today, Mr. Tavthorne will be the plaintiff's party representative and will be present throughout today's trial.
Okay, so I will, both of those are granted. Both sides are to admonish their witnesses constructively that there is a sequestration order and that will be in place and to not violate that. And any violations of that, please alert the bench.
Yes, Your Honor. With that, the plaintiff is ready for trial.
Thank you. May I have introductions from the defense?
Yes, Your Honor. Good afternoon.
Good
My
afternoon.
name is Shaylee Desai, and I, along with my co-counsel, Ms. Fiona Luke. Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good afternoon.
Mr. Pranay Mamaletti
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good afternoon.
and Mr. Carson Huff.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good afternoon.
We represent the defense in today's case, the Lampert family car. And today, Your Honor, we're going to be calling two witnesses to the stand. Ms. Nix Knapp. Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good afternoon.
And Legacy Lampert.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good afternoon.
Now, Your Honor, we also do have a few preliminary matters to take care of as well.
All right, let's hear that.
First, Your Honor, we'd just like to note that our party representative, Legacy Lampert, will also be present throughout the entirety of today's trial. Now, next, Your Honor, we'd just like to draw Your Honor's attention to a relevant piece of case law, which can be found on page 1 of the case law section in that binder.
Do you know what page that is in the totality of the binder?
I can find that, Your Honor. I believe they reset the page numbers for the sections. It's going to be the 6th page. And it's titled Buccedo v. Gwilt, Your Honor.
Okay.
It says that in order to meet an assumption of risk burden, the defense has to prove that the plaintiff knew about the existence of a risk and appreciated its unreasonable character. Today, the defense is going to be raising the affirmative defense of the assumption of risk.
Thank you.
And with that, Your Honor, the defense is ready to proceed to opening statements.
Great. And so the plaintiff is on notice of that they have the defense has raised affirmative defense.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Is the plaintiff ready with opening?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, you may proceed.
May it please the court, opposing counsel, members of the jury. He asked for a blank, but they loaded a bullet. It's July 15th of 2023. And sitting here in Buckler, Morado, a magician and his assistant, well, they're performing at a local carnival. It's a full house. The members of the audience, they're wide-eyed. They're sitting on the edges of their seats in anticipation. You see, that magician's assistant, she just pulled out a gun. She's aiming it at that magician and she's about to pull the trigger. You see, they're performing a magic trick called the bullet catch. And in that trick, well, the goal is to make it look like the magician is going to catch the bullet that she's about to fire. So as she's staring down the barrel of that gun, well, she pulls the trigger. But what that magician doesn't know is that while he asked for a blank, there's a real bullet in that gun. What that magician doesn't know is that that bullet is traveling towards him at 1,000 feet per second. Members of the jury, it hits him. And that magician dies. And you might be asking yourselves, how did a simple magic trick turn into a devastating tragedy? Well, members of the jury, today you're going to learn that the person responsible for maintaining that gun, Angel Ashmore, well, he was supposed to put a blank in that gun. He loaded a real bullet inside. And that magician, Maximilian, he died as a result. And that's why we're here in court today. Because Maximilian's estate has brought a wrongful death claim against the defendant, the Lambert family carnival. What that means is that as the plaintiff, we have a responsibility to prove two things beyond a reasonable doubt. First, that the Lambert family carnival was reckless. And second, that that recklessness is what caused Mr. Maximilian's death. You might be asking yourselves, if this claim is being brought against the carnival, why do Angel Ashmore's actions matter at all? Well, members of the jury, they matter because of something called vicarious liability. All that means is that because Angel Ashmore was an employee of the Lambert family carnival, well, everything Angel Ashmore said, that carnival said. Everything Angel Ashmore did, that carnival did, and every mistake that Angel Ashmore made, well, that carnival made that mistake too. So when Mr. Maximilian asked for a blank, and they put a real bullet in that gun instead, well, the defendant is responsible. And in order to show you that, we're going to be calling two witnesses to the stand today. First, you'll hear from Mr. Utah Udden, a former employee at that carnival. Mr. Udden, he's going to tell you that on the day before Mr. Maximilian died, we saw Angel Ashmore, the person responsible for maintaining that gun, drunkenly loading and firing real bullets into the same gun that killed Mr. Maximilian on the very next day. Then you're going to hear from Mr. Taft, someone who worked undercover at that carnival. And he's going to tell you that Angel Ashmore was reckless. That Angel Ashmore said that he didn't even know the difference between blanks and real bullets. So over the course of today's trial, I want you to remember that even though that magician asked for a blank, got a real bullet. So at the end of today's trial, when you go back into deliberation, I ask you to find the defendant, Lambert Family Carnival, liable. Thank you.
Opening from the defense, Your Honor.
Yes.
took a risk to do the trick. It's July 14th of 2020, and Maximilian is standing inside a tent at the Lambert family carnival. He's standing there talking to his assistant, because in a matter of hours, they have a performance at that carnival. Now, that day, the two of them had a little bit of a disagreement. You see, they were discussing whether or not to perform a trick called the bullet. Now, his assistant's stance was clear. Don't want to perform the trick. She spent hours that day talking to him, trying to convince him, pleading with him, telling him we haven't practiced this trick. We've never done it with the gun we're going to use. It won't be safe. It's too risky. Please don't do it. Max didn't really seem to care. What you'll learn is that Max stood, straightened his tie, looked his assistant in the eye, and said, I know it's risky. I'm willing to take that risk. And what you'll learn over the course of this entire trial is that he took the risk to do that trick. Now, we're here in court today because the plaintiff brought a suit of wrongful death against the Lambert family carnival. They're here in trial asserting that the carnival was reckless, so reckless with the preparation for that trick, that they were actually responsible for that trick killing Mr. Maximilian. Now, in response, we, as the defense, are raising something called an affirmative defense. Over the course of this trial, we're going to show you that Mr. Maximilian actually knew how dangerous that trick was, and that he chose to do it anyway. Now, we're doing that because the law in Murado says that if Mr. Maximilian appreciated the risk associated with doing that trick, and if he chose to get on that stage anyway, then you can't find Lambert family carnival liable. Now, in today's trial, to help show you how he took that risk to do the trick, we're going to call two witnesses to the stand. First, we'll call another one of the performers at that carnival, a psychic named Nick Snack. Now, Miss Knack will take the stand, and she'll describe what she saw at the carnival in the days and weeks leading up to that trip. She'll start by talking about that prop master you heard about just a moment ago, Angel Ashmore. Miss Knack will tell you how leading up to that trip, Miss Ashmore actually stopped coming out with everyone in the car, would take days off, wouldn't focus on going out with her friends, and instead focused all of her attention caring for that bullet. How she would spend late nights at the carnival, focus on getting the right bullets, the right gun, and everything they needed, just to make sure that Max was safe. And then Miss Knack will also tell you about a conversation she had with Mr. Maximilian. You'll learn that they met at a gun a few weeks before that show, and that when they talked, Mr. Maximilian said a few interesting things. He said, I'm pretty familiar with guns. I've grown up around. I know mixing guns and magic is always dangerous. And I know that you should never point a gun at someone unless you want them dead. But you'll learn that he got on that stage anyway, July 14th, that he took the risk to do the trick. Our next witness will be Miss Legacy Lambert, the owner of the Lambert family carnival. And she'll tell you more about the preparation for that trip. She'll walk you through the exact steps they took to get Max everything he needed, how the carnival did everything in its power to make sure that that trip was safe. She'll tell you about how the carnival treated each and every one of its employees like family, and how they did everything in their power to keep Max safe, because they cared. She'll tell you that in the days leading up to that trick, she talked to Mr. Maximilian. She asked him about the trick and its danger, and Mr. Maximilian said once again, I know this trick is risky. I'm willing to take that risk. What you'll learn over the course of this trial, and what you'll hear from every witness who takes this stand today, is that Mr. Maximilian knew that trick was dangerous, and that he took the risk to do the trick. And that's why at the end of the trial, we'll ask that you find the Lambert family carnival not liable. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Plaintiff, are you ready to proceed with your case in chief?
Yes, Your Honor, the plaintiff calls Utah up to the stand. Your Honor, if I can direct your attention to one of the stipulations.
Sure.
It's gonna be stipulation number 14.
Can you just tell me what it says?
Yes, Your Honor, stipulation 14 says that exhibits 4, 5, and 7 can be admitted after openings without any additional foundation. So we just like to do that now before this examination.
Is that the defense's understanding as well?
Yes, it is.
With no objection and based off of stipulation 14, exhibits 4, 5, and 7 are so admitted.
And can we constructively publish to the members of the jury?
You may publish to the jury in any way that you see fit.
Yes, Your Honor. May I proceed?
Yes.
Good afternoon. Can you please introduce yourself to the members of the jury?
Hi there. Name's Utah Ugg.
Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, Mr. Udden?
Sure. I come from a big family. I'm the youngest of 9. And what else do you want to know?
How about, what do you do for a living?
That's a good one. I consider myself a sanitation expert. The Murata Institute of Technology considers me a janitor. But whichever way you slice it, I'm still sweeping the floor, so take your pick.
Have you always worked as a sanitation expert?
Well, thank you for using my proper title. But to answer your question, no. I used to do tricks down at the carnival, you know, shooting myself out of cannons, escaping underwater. The unbreakable Odin was no one trick pony, I'll tell you that.
What's the name of the carnival that you worked for?
That was the Lampert family carnival. I worked there starting back in 2017, and I was there for 6 years.
Did you ever work with any magicians at the carnival?
I did. Last summer, we hired a magician named Maximilian. He was the one that was shot and killed on stage last summer during the performance.
How was Mr. Maximilian shot on stage?
He was performing this trick called the bullet hitch. Now, I did a lot of crazy stuff at the carnival, don't get me wrong, but nothing like this. So basically what happens is the magician's on one side of the stage and then his assistant's on the other. She fires a gun at him and then he catches the bullet in his mouth. But the trick is that there's no bullet actually fired. It's just a blank. So gave me a little bit of a breather there. Basically, Max was performing that trick and I guess something went wrong and he was killed.
Before we talk about what happened, why are you here in court today?
Well, I'm here to fulfill a plea deal I have with the state of Murata.
What'd you do to get that plea deal?
Last summer, I was driving on the road and I saw one of my buddies from high school pull up next to me. He started revving his engine real loud and the light turned green. He took off down the road. And I'm not really one to back down from a challenge, so I started racing him. Long story short, the police get there. I panicked and wrapped my car around the tree. Woke up in the hospital. They told me I was getting charged with resisting arrest and street racing.
What punishment were you facing for those charges?
It was up to 10 years, I think. But they said if I come in, talk about what I know about the carnival, they could drop it down to just reckless driving, which could end up being just probation, I think. So that's why I'm here in my Sunday best, telling you about what I saw.
Does your plea deal say anything about what happens if you lie in court today?
Yes, ma'am. They said I have to be completely truthful or everything goes away. So gotta be honest today.
Let's get back to talking about the carnival. Did you ever interact with the carnival's owner, Legacy Lampert?
I mean, I worked for the gal for about 6 years. I can tell you, she gets a sunny side up egg from Demo's Diner every morning. I've interacted with Legacy before.
What was it like working for Miss Lampert?
It was fine. Nothing really to write home about. I mean, two of us used to fight over my tricks a little bit, but I don't really mind that.
What about the magician, Mr. Maximilian? When was he hired at the carnival?
Well, Max took over for me after my little street racing incident. I had broken my leg, so I wasn't able to perform, and I was the big headliner at the time, so they needed someone to fill in. That's when they hired Max, but I got to stay on as a ticket taker.
What was it like working for the carnival after Mr. Maximilian was hired?
Well, there was a lot of changes happening last summer. I mean, Some of the tents were breaking down, and firing people left and right. I mean, the whole thing was kind of crumbling down around us.
Who's the carnival fire?
First one to go was Debbie. She was the bearded lady. After her, it was Doug the lion tamer. And then two of the assistant prop masters in a 1-2 punch. So we were just down to one at that point.
Who is the single prop master you had left?
It was a woman named Angel Ashmore. She was in charge of the animals, the props, the firearms. I mean, you name it, she probably had to take care of it.
You said that props master was in charge of firearms.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you ever see a gun at the carnival?
I did. We had one last summer.
Can you open that binder in front of you to exhibit 4? It's gonna be in the back of that binder, Mr. Rudd. It's a picture of a gun.
Oh, I'm there.
Now, do you recognize exhibit 4?
Yeah, it looks like a gun that we had at the carnival last year.
When did you see this gun at the carnival?
First time I saw it was the day before Max's big bullet catch performance. I mean, a couple of us carnies were sitting around the fire, and Lucy kept sitting too close, and I kept telling her, you know, back up, back up. She wouldn't listen to me. Ends up catching her hair on fire. She had to run over to the dump tank to put it out. Oh wait, what was the question?
This gun. We were talking about this gun.
Oh,
When
right.
did you see it at the carnival?
That was July 13th, the night before the performance.
On July 13th, who was holding this gun?
Well, it was Angel. We were all kind of sitting around the fire. Angel had a couple of beers in her, and then she waltzed off the props tent. Came back a couple of minutes later. She had a little box, pulled the gun out of it, and she had some ammunition with it too. Started loading the gun up and put the beer bottles on the fence and shot them down one by one.
Was Miss Lampert there at all?
No, just Angel.
You said that props master was putting ammunition in this gun. Did you see what kind of ammunition?
I did. She was putting real live bullets in that gun.
Your Honor, I'm approaching opposing counsel with exhibit 8, a bullet. Permission to approach the witness with the same.
Yeah, permission granted.
Mr. Rudden, do you know what I've handed you this time?
Well, I'm no sharpshooter, but this looks like a bullet to me.
Did you ever see any bullets like that at the carnival?
Yeah, this looked like the kind of bullet Angel was putting in that gun. I mean, same shape, same size, same color, that little red little tip, same everything.
Your Honor, at this time, the plaintiff offers exhibit 8 into evidence, noting that stipulation 15 says that this was one of the bullets recovered from the carnival.
Any objection?
No objection.
Exhibit, what was it, 8?
8.
8 is so admitted.
So, Mr. Arden, what happened the next day after you saw the props master putting ammunition like that into the gun? That would be July 14th.
That was the day of Max's bullet catch performance. I saw him sitting up early in the day, and he had that box that Angel got the gun out of, and he was setting up for his trip.
Did you see Mr. Maximilian use a gun that day?
I did. He used a gun during his performance, the one where he passed away.
Thank you, Mr. Arden.
Your Honor, no further questions.
Thank you.
Permission to publish exhibit 8 to the jury.
Permission granted.
Welcome, ma'am.
Does the defense wish to cross-examine?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Rudden, how far would you go to stay out of prison?
I mean, clearly I got wrapped up in street racing, so I gotta be smart about that kind of stuff, but I mean, I try to follow the law where I can.
Try to follow the law. Let's talk about your motivations in testifying in today's case. You said on direct examination that you got cut off in street racing, right?
That's right.
Police, they arrested you for street racing,
Yes, sir.
facing charges for illegal street racing.
That's right, and resisting arrest.
Right, it doesn't stop there. You ran away from the cops as they started to catch on.
That's right, I turned really fast and
You
I
had-
ended up getting in a wreck.
You were facing 2 different charges.
That's right.
Doesn't stop there either. The DA threatened to upgrade your charges too, right?
That's right.
See the terms over here?
Yes, sir.
They gave you a way out.
Yeah, they told me if I come in and I testify about what I saw, that they could drop the charges down.
That's not exactly true. The terms of your deal weren't that you just had to testify about what you saw. The terms were you have to give useful information against Legacy Lambert.
That's right, useful, truthful. Those are the two that they said.
Right? You were facing 10 years in prison.
Yes, sir.
With that plea, these attorneys will make it go away.
That's right, as long as I'm honest and I'm helping them.
You're saying as long as you're honest, but I want to be clear about who's deciding if you're honest. Because according to that plea deal, it's not the members of our jury that you have to convince that you're honest.
No,
It's your attorneys that you have to convince that you're honest.
yes, sir.
At the end of the day, they're the ones who decide if you're truthful.
Yeah,
And they're the ones who are suing Legacy Land today.
that's exactly right, sir.
I want to talk about your feelings towards Legacy Land, because even without that plea deal, you really don't like it, do you?
I mean, she did fire me and say that it was my fault for the whole situation.
That's right. After the incident happened, Legacy fired you from the carnival.
That's right. She told me if you never broke your leg, this wouldn't have happened.
You felt like she just kicked you to the curb, right?
That's right. I hadn't done anything.
You're pretty eager to get back at her, right?
Well, I mean, I would like to be honest and tell about what happened. Yes,
You're pretty eager to get back at her, aren't you?
maybe
Maybe
Somewhat.
you'd call this a win in your book, getting to testify against the Senate.
against the carnival for the things they were doing. Yeah.
You made some claims about the props master, Angel Ashmore, on direct examination. I want to talk about if we can trust those claims. You said you saw Mr. Ashmore with a gun the night before the trip, right?
That's right, sir.
You could open that binder to exhibit 4, the same one you were using on direct examination. I want to talk about it.
Here we go. Right to 4.
This is the gun you say you saw Angel Ashmore holding and shooting the night before the trip, right?
It looks like, I mean, I couldn't see the serial number on it, but same shape, same general gun.
Exactly. On the night that you say you saw Mr. Ashmore with that gun, it was dark, wasn't it?
That's right.
There wasn't much light out.
No,
You didn't get a clear look at the gun.
no, I just saw that she got it from the props tent in the box that I saw Max.
You look at the top of this gun, there's a serial number on the gun.
Yes, sir.
You don't know the serial number of the gun that Max used the next day. do you?
No, I just saw he got it from the same box.
You look at the top and the side of this gun, there's scratches all over the gun too, right?
Looks like it.
You didn't get a close look at the gun that Max was using the next day, did you?
No, sir.
You couldn't say if those scratches matched the scratches on this gun.
No, it was from a video from far away.
I also want to talk to you about your feelings towards Angel Ashmore as well, because it's also true, you really don't like him either.
No, I don't think he did his job very well.
You kind of hate him, right?
I don't know if I hate him. I just don't think he does his job very well.
Pretty close to hate him, right?
That's somewhat.
I want to talk to you about your conversations with Matt. I noticed you didn't mention those on direct examination. Was that a term of the plea agreement not to mention those?
I just answered the question that I was asked, sir.
I'm going to ask you a few more questions about whether or not Max knew about the risks of the trick that he was going to perform.
Okay.
In a conversation, Max told you that he knew this trick was very dangerous, even for him.
That's right.
Max told you he knew this trick was not totally safe.
That's right.
Max told you he knew there was a risk that someone could get hurt from this trick.
That's right.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Thank you. Any redirect?
Can I inquire as to how much time we have left?
A minute and 52 seconds.
Yes, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Mr. Hodges said we didn't talk about those conversations with Mr. Maximilian, so let's talk about them now. When you spoke to Mr. Maximilian, did you tell him that you saw the props master loading real bullets into the gun?
No, I don't know if anyone ever told Max that they would put real bullets in that gun.
Did your conversation involve the possibility of real bullets at all?
No, no one ever talked about real bullets or told Max anything like that.
Thank you,
Objection,
Mr.
Your Honor, to speculation, may I be heard?
Yes.
The witness just testified that no one ever told Max that there was the possibility of real bullets. The witness would not have knowledge of what other people may or may not have told Max, and therefore it's speculation.
Response?
Yes, Your Honor, my witness was testifying to the conversation he had with Mr. Maximilian. It's not speculative for him to say what went on in that conversation.
Okay. So it's, is there any other objection to a conversation that was heard outside of court amongst other people?
Your Honor, just an objection to the witness testifying that nobody ever told Max about the bullets. All he can testify is about whether he told Max about the bullets or not in that conversation.
Okay, I'm gonna overrule for now and give the plaintiff a little bit of leeway, and if you feel like it's speculative again, you can re-raise your objection.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Udden, when you were having that conversation with Mr. Maximilian, did anyone mention risks associated with live bullets?
I never heard anyone say anything about live bullets to Max.
Thank you, Mr. Udden. Your Honor, I have no further questions, and barring any recross, I ask that my witness might be excused.
Is there any recross?
No recross.
All right, then you're excused, Mr. Evans.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Evans.
Does the defense have any witness?
Yes, Your Honor. At this time, the defense calls Ms. Knickknack.
Sorry, what was the last name?
Ms. Knickknack.
Miss Knickknack. Miss Knickknack, you may approach the witness stand.
Good afternoon. Can you introduce yourself to our members of the jury?
Good afternoon. My name is Nixna.
Where are you from?
So it's been a long time since I have been in my country, but I am from Colombia. I come to the United States when I was a teenager, and I have been here now 15 years.
What do you do for work?
I am a psychic at the Lampert Family Carnival. I read signs in order to tell the future. Like right now. I bet you're going to ask me another question.
Got that right. And how long have you been working for the Lampert family firm?
Over 10 years. After college, I have my kids, and I just wanted something steady for my two boys. This job, it was perfect. Good money, good hours. Sometimes they even had good food. But more than a mother asked for.
And how are you involved in today's case?
I was working at the carnival and Maximilian passed away. I'm just here to share what I saw.
I just want to address something right off the bat. Are you being affected in any way by today's lawsuit?
These days, the business at the carnival is not too good because of the lawsuit. My job is not as steady as it used to be, but I've been through worse. It's nothing I cannot handle.
I want to back up and talk about exactly what you saw and heard at the clinic. Do you know Maximilian?
Yes, I was the one who suggested hiring him, actually. Our last Estonian, he had broken his leg. Kept telling him, don't drive too fast, and he kept doing it. So we needed someone to replace him. I was talking to Legacy, he's the owner of the carnival. I heard good things that I heard about Max, and I guess she talked to him because June 1st was his first show.
Did you ever see Max's performances?
I wish. I had my own performances in my own tent, so I never got the chance to see Max perform.
Do you know what tricks he would perform?
Yes, he was a magician, so magic tricks. And I remember in the summer of 2023, I did started to see a flyer saying that Max was going to perform a bullet catch trick.
Objection, Your Honor, to best evidence. The flyer that this witness is testifying to is in the exhibits included. We just ask that they testify to the contents that they entered into evidence.
May I respond, Your Honor?
Yes.
Other than saying that Max was going to perform a bullet catch trick, the witness didn't testify to any of the explicit contents of that exhibit, the date, the time, all the other information that's on that exhibit. She just mentioned generally that Max was going to be performing.
Are you going to be objecting if she admits that into evidence?
No, Your Honor.
I'm going to sustain the objection. It just seems simple to explain your theory of the case, to just admit that into evidence.
Sure, Your Honor, we can have the witness reply.
Yes, Your Honor.
And Ms. Mack, in front of you, there's a Bible.
Yes.
Could you please flip to exhibit 1, or excuse me, exhibit 6? Sure.
In the back.
Yes, in the back.
Okay. Right here.
Could you tell the jury what that document is?
Yes, this is the flyer for the bullet catch trick that Max was going to perform. And he was only going to perform it July 14th. It was the last night of the carnival.
Is that document a fair and accurate representation of that flyer yourself?
Yes.
At this time, Your Honor, the defense offers exhibit 6 into evidence.
And given the stipulation by the other side, it is so admitted.
Yes, Your Honor. May we constructively published to the jury?
Yes,
Now, you just told us that Max was gonna perform a bullet catch. I wanna talk about whether Max understood the risks associated with that. Did you ever speak to Max personally?
Once, yes, but not at the carnival. We were at the shooting range. There's not much to do in Morado.
What'd you guys talk about at that range?
I remember we talked about how sometimes magic can be dangerous, especially when you mix guns. Max had told me that he had grown up with guns, so he knew a lot about them.
Did Max mention anything else about guns and magic being dangerous?
So said that you should never, never mix guns with magic.
Did you tell you why?
Max, he just said that the first rule of safety is not to point a gun at something unless you want it.
Just to be clear, did you have this conversation with Max before he performed that bullet capture?
Yes, we had talked about it in June and we had performed it in July.
I want to talk about how the carnival tried to make sure that Max was going to stay safe. Do you know who was responsible for maintaining the carnival's guns?
Yes, that was the broadmaster for the carnival, Angel Ashmore. And I remember talking to him the night before the show, and he seemed to be taking it very seriously.
Objection, Your Honor, to speculation.
do you have a response?
May I respond, Your Honor? We're
Yes.
about to lay some foundation as to how this witness would be.
Overruled.
Yes, Your Honor.
What do you mean by Miss Ashmore was taking it seriously?
And what is that? The night before the show, posted something with the co-workers and we were getting some drinks and I offered some to for Angel, excuse me, and didn't take a single sip. I had never seen her so focused in my life.
Was that the only time you saw Angel Ashmore focus?
No, I had tried again the next day. I was posting again for friends. I had invited Cindy from the Petit Candy tent, Ronnie from the Rodeo tent, and Michelle from the chat. But Angela couldn't make it. Too busy preparing.
Do you know what Angel Ashmore was too busy preparing that day?
I had saw her with 2 boxes of ammo in the prop tent.
What happened later that night?
Max was performing. I was just in my tent, relaxing, and I started to see and hear some commotion outside of my tent.
What did you do when you saw and heard that commotion?
I made my way to Max's stage and I was trying to see what was going on, but it was difficult with the crowds.
Were you able to make it onto the stage?
Yes, but I wish I hadn't. Everyone was crying. Max's assistant was shaking. My poor boy. I can only imagine what his mother's feeling.
Thank you, Ms. Nancy. No further questions, Lord.
Thank you. Any cross-examination?
Yes, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Ms. Knapp.
Good afternoon.
My name is Ronnie Hayden. I have some questions for you on behalf of the council.
Okay.
And I want to talk about the night before the carnival.
Yes, okay.
You said that you saw Angel Ashmore there that night.
Yes, we were there together.
You said he seemed focused.
Absolutely. Like I said, I offered him a drink and he said no.
But you said yes to quite a few drinks that night, didn't you?
Yes, my my kids were at a sleepover that weekend and I got a little carried away.
You had so much to drink that your memory of that night is fuzzy.
A little bit, yes.
You passed out at the poker table,
I fell asleep.
so you can't tell us what happened after you fell asleep.
No, by then I was asleep. The party was pretty much over.
You can't tell us if Angel went to do something with Mr. Maximilian's gun.
No, I don't know.
You can't tell us if after you fell asleep, Angel was putting live ammunition in that gun.
I don't know. I can imagine that he would do something like that.
Now let's talk about that conversation you had with Mr. Maximilian at the shooting range.
Okay.
You said that's where he told you that you should never point a gun at another person.
Exactly. He was telling me that we should not mix magic with guns.
But when he said those things, it was just you and Mr. Maximilian, no one else.
Yes, we were at the shooting range, standing side by side and sometimes talking.
You know, the shooting range has no security cameras.
No, I don't think in the area where we were.
You don't have a recording of that conversation.
No.
So the only person that your attorneys can have testify to that conversation is you.
Objection, Your Honor, to calls for speculation. This witness wouldn't be able to tell who else the defense would be able to call to corroborate that testimony.
Might I respond? Yes, Your Honor. I asked this witness if there was anyone else in the vicinity when that conversation was had, and she answered no. She has the foundation to say whether anyone else would be able to testify to a private conversation.
May I respond, Your Honor?
Briefly.
We have no objection to this witness saying that she doesn't remember anyone else being around. But for opposing counsel to ask this witness whether there is anyone else that would be able to corroborate that testimony would be outside the scope of what she knows.
Okay, I'm gonna sustain the objection.
Yes, Your Honor. Ms. Mack, as far as you know, the only person who heard that conversation was you.
It was me and Max. Yes.
So let's talk about you. You're a trained performer.
Yes, like I said, I'm a psychic.
You agree that great performers like yourself make fantastic liars.
Sometimes it's part of the performance when you're on stage with someone. It's an illusion.
You've actually dedicated your life to learning how to manipulate people.
I dedicate my life to the psychic work in the legacy Gauntlet carnival.
You spent years training as a mentalist.
Yes.
And in your training, you've learned how to stretch the truth.
Yes, you know, with the psychic, it's all part of the illusion, the allure, you know?
You've learned how to look at a group of people, like the members of the jury, and read their reactions.
If you pay to come to a performance, then yes.
You read their reactions, and you try to manipulate their responses.
The audience members, yes.
When you're doing a performance, you try to manipulate their responses with your words, based on what you want to happen.
Yes, when I'm working as a psychic, like I said.
Let's talk about what you want to happen in this trial. Now, you mentioned that when you started working as a mentalist, it was hard work.
Hours, a lot of time in the carnival, and a lot of time in my education as well.
When you started, you weren't making a lot of money.
At the beginning, no. Now I'm more established and steady.
Well, you're steady because this woman right here, Miss Lambert, she hired you at her carnival.
Yes, 10 years ago, more or less.
Since she hired you, life has been great.
Not perfect, but I am grateful, yes.
Directing you back to my question, since she hired you, life has been great for you.
Yes, I'm very grateful.
I think you owe everything, Miss Lambert.
Yes, I appreciate the job that she has given me.
Not only do you appreciate the job, she gave you your home, didn't she?
Yes, it's one of the benefits. We all live at the carnival.
So you want to pay back all those debts you think you owe Miss Lambert.
Yes, I'm just grateful, yes.
And you think the only threat to Miss Lambert and her carnival is this lawsuit.
All I'm here is to share what I know and what I saw in the time leading up to Max's death.
For you, a trained mentalist, a trained liar, you volunteered to testify.
Yes, I'm here to testify as an eyewitness.
Because you want Miss Lambert to win this trial.
To share what I know.
Well, you think if she wins this trial, then your life will get back on track.
Hopefully, once this is over, it's more peaceful for everyone involved, including me.
Ms. Mack, if I can get a yes or a no to my question. You want her to win this trial so that your life can get back on track.
Yes, for myself and for everyone.
Thank you, Ms. Mack. Your Honor, no further questions for this witness.
Thank you.
No redirect examination, Your Honor, may Ms. Knapp step down.
Ms. Mack, you may step down. I think at this time, judge and the jury need to fill out our questionnaires and take a 2-minute break.
Yes, Your Honor.
Feel free to use the restroom. Remember that sequestration order is still in place. You guys may be seated. Are we all back? Are we waiting on anyone else?
The plaintiff is back and ready to proceed, Your Honor.
Great.
Defense as well.
Great. Plaintiff, you may call your second witness.
Yes, Your Honor, the plaintiff calls Mr. Thorne to the stand.
Mr. Thorne, you may approach the witness stand.
Yes.
May I proceed?
Yes.
Good afternoon. Could you please introduce yourself to the members of the jury?
Of course. Good afternoon. My name is Tab Thorne.
What do you do for a living?
I'm a financial investigator with the Murano Bureau of Investigation, NBI. At our office, we look at criminals from across the state, work on different kinds of investigations. My unit is mostly focused on developing white-collar profiles and looking into fraudulent financial transactions.
How'd you get started as a financial investigator?
Math was always kind of my thing. I mean, when I was 3, Santa gave me a calculator for Christmas. I took it as a sign, ran with it, followed the numbers all the way to the bureau. I mean, now I get to use those math skills to try to help people make a difference.
A few moments ago, you said you sometimes go undercover for your work. Why do you do that?
When you're building a financial case, sometimes you don't have access to certain evidence that you otherwise would need to build that case. In those cases, you can go undercover. You can get an inside look at an organization and observe how they operate.
How are you involved in today's case?
I was actually in the middle of an undercover financial investigation into a traveling carnival. It was called the Lampert Family Carnival, or LFC. I was there from June through July of last year, but while I was there was a magician named Maximilian. On July 14th, he performed a trick. Something went wrong and he passed away. I realized that a lot of the evidence I found might help in this case, and I wanted to share what I know.
So before today, do you know anyone who was involved in this case?
I did. I knew Miss Legacy Lampert.
Why'd you start investigating?
When you're working on white-collar crime, we do a lot of criminal profiling, meaning that we try to see if a person's background might indicate that they may have committed crimes. In fraud, we tend to see people who have a history of egotistical behavior, previous fraudulent activity. Based on my personal experience, I was aware Miss Legacy Lampert might fit that profile.
Objection, Your Honor. Pursuant to 401 relevance, if I may do that.
Yes.
Yes, Your Honor. Now, today we're here to discuss the bullet catch and whether or not the defendant's actions contributed to Mr. Maximilian's death. For the plaintiff to now go into how she might fit the profile of a financial criminal, that's simply not relevant to any of our proceedings today. Your Honor,
Yes.
the witness is just explaining how he got to this investigation in the first place, why he was at the carnival watching things happen.
we'd be happy to not pursue this line of questioning. If the opposing counsel would like to stipulate that they wouldn't cross on this witness's personal history with the defendant.
I don't think we need that stipulation. I'm gonna sustain the objection just to the terminology of criminal. I don't know that, I think it is relevant, but under a 403 balancing act, I think it is a little bit more prejudicial. So that is sustained.
Yes, Your Honor. Sir, could you repeat your answer? Why were you investigating Ms. Lampert?
Right. Ms. Lampert had come up in our line of work before. We were working on some financial investigations into Ms. Lampert. That included the one I was working on back in 2020.
Well, I want to talk about that investigation in 2023.
Of course.
How did that start?
I mean, in early June of that year, we got an anonymous tip at the office. We couldn't actually verify that tip without getting somebody on the inside of that carnival. So I went undercover.
How'd you do that?
I don't know if you can tell, but I'm not a magician. Instead, I went to LFC's entry-level unpaid internship. I mean, there I mostly restocked the carnival offices with the teddy bears there. I would clean the teddy bears, I would fluff the teddy bears. But having that low profile gave me a lot of access to do my real job, the one I was actually being paid for.
And what was that real job?
When I had the chance, I would go around the carnival to try to see if there was any evidence that might prove or disprove that tip we got. So I would go to the main stage, the ticket booth, the prop tent. It was this big tent at the edge of the carnival fairgrounds. That's where we kept most of our props.
What did you find?
In terms of the financial investigation, not very much. I mean, I was in and out of that prop tent almost every day, fluffing bears, investigating. But I didn't find very much in terms of its finances.
I actually want to talk about that prop tent you just mentioned. What were the conditions like inside there in the weeks leading up to July 14th?
Oh, I mean, it was a mess. There were props, snacks, prizes, all kind of stored in these large piles on the floor. There was no kind of labeling scheme. There was no way to tell which prop might belong to which performer, or even which props might be dangerous and need special care.
Objection, Your Honor, pursuant to 403, if I may be heard.
Yes.
Yes, Your Honor. Now, the foundation we already have is that Agent Thorne was an entry-level worker. We had no foundation as to how he would know if there was any system that performers were informed of. So for him to simply testify that there was no system there, that's more prejudicial than proven.
Yes.
The witness is only testifying to what he saw in that tent. He said he went in there and it didn't look like there was a system. Opposing counsel's argument goes to weight, not a visibility. They can cross-examine on.
I tend to agree. The objections are overruled.
Yes, Your Honor. Sir, could you describe that prop tent for us?
Right. I mean, just that tent was not very well organized. There's no labeling, no organization. I couldn't tell which props might be dangerous and which ones needed special care.
Do you know if the carnival had any dangerous props?
Yeah, they had a gun.
What gun?
I started seeing it in July, I think. It would look like a Glock 22.
Objection, Your Honor, to a lack of personal knowledge.
Yes.
Yes, Your Honor. Now, all we've heard about this witness's background is that he's a financial investigator. We haven't heard that he's an expert in firearms. So for him to simply say he saw a firearm and he could identify it as a Glock 22, that's outside the scope of his personal knowledge.
And do you believe that a Glock 22, you would need to be an expert in firearms to identify?
Yes, Your Honor. Certainly a lay person couldn't just see a gun and identify the exact model and year that it was made.
In response?
Yes, Your Honor. First of all, Your Honor, we don't need expert testimony to say that he saw a gun that was a Glock 22 and therefore is characterizing as such.
I tend to agree that it doesn't need to be expert testimony if that's part of his lay, but if you could just lay a little bit more foundation.
Yes, Your Honor. Yes, Your Honor. Sir, you just said you saw a Glock 22. How do you know that?
Sure, I mean, to work for the NBI, you need to do basic firearms training. It's kind of like a standard issue police pistol. I remember seeing it throughout July in that prop tent. I remember on Lashmore, actually, with the prop master, she would be holding it pretty often.
All those times you saw Ms. Angel Ashmore holding that gun, did you see her cleaning it?
No, I don't remember that. No.
Did you ever see them maintaining the gun?
No. I was in and out of that prop tent almost every day, and I never saw it.
Sir, we heard today that's an eyewitness saw Angel Ashmore carrying a gun and bullets on July 13th. Do you remember seeing Angel Ashmore with guns and bullets on that same night?
I do actually. It was in the prop.
What happened?
So I was working later that night, Fluff and Bears, financial investigation, when Anil actually came in. I don't know if she saw me, but she turned around and picked up a gun and then what looked like a box of lights. She left.
We also heard from an eyewitness today, the defense's eyewitness, saying that Miss Ashmore actually had 2 boxes, bullets and blanks. Did you ever see that other box?
I did, yeah. Anil came in about 30 seconds later, had the first box in one hand, put it back and picked up a second box of what looked to be bullets. As she was leaving, I remember her saying, "Dang, these things look alike. I don't know how to tell them apart." Put the second one back, or sorry, put the first one back, took the second one out and left.
To be clear, sir, what was in that second box?
It looked like bullets.
Did you ever see Angel Ashmore that night again?
No. I wasn't finding anything as part of that financial investigation, so I left. I went home.
So when was the next time you saw a gun at the carnival?
I mean, it was the next day, July 14th. I saw it while Mr. Maximilian was performing the bullet trick.
What bullet trick?
So I actually got to watch the show, and it looked like Mr. Maximilian's assistant would pretend to shoot him and he would catch the bullet in his mouth. It didn't go that well, though.
What do you mean?
So the show started normal. I mean, he was great. He had all these awesome tricks. There's rabbits and hats and whatnot. But when they got to the bullet catch, the assistant fired the gun, and Max just collapsed. There was a lot of screaming. The stagehands rushed the stage. I mean, I had to break character. I had to try to get him some help, but no, he didn't make it.
Thank you, sir. I have nothing further, Your Honor.
Thank you. Cross-examination?
Yes, Your Honor.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm all right. I'm actually not from this area. I'm staying with a friend right now, but I'm looking forward to having a good weekend and then getting back home.
Well, let's get you back home soon, sir.
Sounds great.
I want to jump in right where you left off.
Of
Because
course.
you told us about an interaction that you had with the prop master, right?
Right, with Miss Ashman.
You told us that you saw her with a box of blanks.
Yes, when she came in the first time, she got the gun and what looked like a box of bullets.
And then you think you saw her with a box of bullets, right?
I think so, yes.
You said that she looked at us too and she said, dang, these look really similar, right?
It was like that. I don't know how to tell these apart.
Sir, you know you're here testifying because the magician died during that bullet catch trick, right?
I do. I saw it happen.
So, of course, the prop master's preparations for that trick, that's pretty relevant in court today, right?
I guess I would think so. I'm trying to tell you what I know.
Right. If the prop master wasn't able to tell the difference between blanks and bullets, that's a big deal.
That would be pretty bad, yes.
It could kill someone.
It could.
Sir, you remember giving a deposition before this trial, right?
I do.
In that deposition, you were asked a series of questions about what you knew about that film.
I was.
Nowhere in that deposition do you mention that conversation you had with.
Well, no, ma'am. I wasn't asked about having those conversations.
So let's get straight exactly what you were asked. You recognize a copy of your deposition if I handed it to you, right?
I think so. You'd have to hand it to me.
Your Honor, approaching the witness of this deposition. Sir, you're explicitly asked in that deposition what you knew about the prop gun, right?
I remember that question, yes.
Sir, allow me to refresh your memory. You were asked, can you tell me more about that Glock 22? Do you remember any specific features?
I'm sorry, what page?
Sorry, sir, I'm looking at line 118, page 4.
Oh, I see, it's double sided. I'm so sorry, I'm having a hard time finding this,
No
but I
worries.
remember the line, I trust you.
You were asked, can you tell me more about that Glock 22? Do you remember any specific features?
Right, I mean, I didn't remember seeing Angel using the gun, disassembling it, cleaning it, that's a couple lines down, and that's true, I don't know what Angel did with that gun.
Right, you go into some detail about seeing Angel holding that gun, right?
Right, I remember saying, throughout July, I just remember seeing Angel Ashmore holding the gun in his mouth.
You don't mention seeing her holding blanks and bullets, right?
Well, no, ma'am, you didn't ask me about any blanks or bullets.
So then we talk about Angel a little more, right? Because I say, how often did you see Angel with that Glock 22?
Is that on the next page?
The very next question.
After, I see it. Sorry, I'm a little bit out of order.
No worries. I asked, how often did you see Angel with that Glock 22, right?
That's right.
You say, not that often.
Right, I said on any given day, I'd probably be in the prop tent in about 20 minutes. I remember seeing Angel with that gun about 3 to 4 times. That's
You don't say, oh, I did see her once with a box of deadly bullets.
well, no, ma'am, you didn't ask me about any bullets or blanks. You asked me about that weapon. That's how often I saw it.
You don't say that you heard her say, gosh, I don't know how to tell these two things apart, right?
Right, ma'am. I told you how often I saw Angel with that clock. And that's the truth. I saw her 3 to 4 times. One of them was in that tent.
Let's talk about why you're only telling us this today.
Of course.
Sir, like I said, you've known Miss Lampert before this case, right?
I did.
You've known her for years.
Right. I participated in a couple investigations against her. We actually went to high school together, too.
Sir, you have always been jealous of my clients, haven't you?
I wouldn't say I envy her position right now. No.
Sir, you think she can get away with anything?
I remember in high school, that's often how it was. That's true.
Right, because you've tried to report her for cheating.
Right. There was a test cheating scheme that she was running. I reported it to our dean, and he came down to me. So
Right, she didn't get in trouble,
that's right.
but you did.
I did.
So ever since then, you have made it your mission to take her down.
That's not true. No.
Let's talk about that. Because this is your second time investigating her, right?
That's right. So this 2023 investigation was from the anonymous tip. There was another investigation back in 2015.
So I want to be clear, both of these times you're investigating her finances, right?
Initially, that's how this one started. That's right.
Both of those times, you couldn't find any evidence of financial wrongdoing.
Right. That first investigation ended. We didn't turn up any evidence. The second one, I mean, in the middle of it, Mr. Maximilian died, and there was suddenly a more important issue.
I want to focus on that first investigation, because like I said, you couldn't find any evidence, right?
Not in that first one.
So your boss told you to drop the case.
I remember that, yes.
You told her you couldn't.
That's right. I believe in the investigation and the profile that we did.
Sir, you told your boss, even after finding no evidence, you were sure Miss Lampert was a criminal.
Yes, ma'am, based on the profile we had, I felt confident in our investigation.
Sir, let's be clear, with no evidence whatsoever, your own words, you thought Miss Lampert was a crook.
I don't remember calling her a crook, no.
You still have your deposition in front of you, right?
I do.
Sir, in line 31, please read silently as I read aloud. Legacy is a crook who has been skirting financial laws for the entirety of their adult life.
Oh, I see. That was not in response to that investigation. That was a different instance.
That was a different time you called my client a crook.
I was describing the client as I believe she was. Yeah.
So you just believe she's a crook even with no evidence?
I mean, ma'am, in this investigation, we collected quite a bit of evidence.
Sir, that quote was before this investigation, correct?
This deposition was given after this investigation started.
Thank you, nothing further.
Thank you, Counselor. Can you redirect?
Oh, Your Honor, I ask that the witness be allowed to step down.
You may step down.
Thank you. Would you like to back?
Sure, thank you.
Is there any more witnesses from the defense?
Yes, Your Honor. At this time, the defense calls Ms. Legacy Lampert to the stand.
You're up again, Counselor. No break for you.
Good afternoon. Could you please introduce yourself to the jury?
Good afternoon. My name is Legacy Lampert.
What do you do for a living?
I'm the CEO of Lampert Family Carnivals.
How'd you get into the business?
Well, as you can probably guess by the name, Lampert Family Carnivals is a family business. It always has been. It started with my great-grandparents when they were just teenagers, and they built it from the ground up. They gave it to my grandparents, who gave it to my dad, who then gave it to me.
When did you take over the carnival?
About 10 years ago. It was right after my dad had passed away.
How do you pass?
It was cancer. Fought it too late.
What do you mean by that?
My dad, he did everything in the business. He performed, he ran the business, he greeted customers. His work ethic was unmatched. But he didn't take care of himself. By the time I finally forced him to go see a doctor, he only had weeks. When he passed, I knew that I had to run the carnival in the way that he always tried to. I had to make him proud.
I want to go ahead and shift to this. You know why you're here in court today?
I do. Maximilian, one of our performers, passed away doing a stunt in one of our shows.
Are you aware that the plaintiff is alleging that it was your company's fault that Max passed away?
I'm aware, yes.
Do you believe that?
No, I don't.
Then I want to talk about your time working with Mr. Maximilian. How did you meet?
It was in early May. I had seen him do one of his performances on YouTube and thought it was great. I called him in for a meeting the same day.
How'd that meeting go?
It was great too. And Max was a real eager guy. Signed a performance contract with us almost immediately.
Would you recognize a copy of that contract if I were to show it to you?
Of course I would.
Your Honor, I'm approaching the witness with what's been pre-indicted as Exhibit 2. I want to look at this contract together. Could you read the last sentence from it?
Lampert Family Carnival promises to provide and maintain any needed props, also a safe work environment to the extent that Lampert Family Carnivals can.
Could you read the first sentence of the third paragraph?
Of course. Max and Gabby, his assistant, understand that magic can be dangerous.
Now, did Mr. Maximilian look over this entire contract?
He did. I was there when he reviewed it.
Did he agree with?
He did.
Did he sign?
Yes, that's his signature at the bottom.
Then I want to go ahead and shift to the vote. When did Mr. Maximilian add it to his routine?
It was July 14th, the last show of the summer.
Ms. Lambert, I have to ask, did you force Mr. Maximilian to do the bullet catch?
Lord, no. Max was the one who suggested it, and he's the professional, so I deferred to him. Of course, I thought it was a great idea, but Max ultimately had final say.
What was that conversation like between the two of you?
Max expressed a bit of nervousness about the trick. He said that even on the best of days, it could still go wrong. His assistant, Gabby, even said that magicians had died doing this trick in the past. But Max seemed to brush her off, and said, I want to do it anyways. So put it on the schedule.
Then I want to talk about whether or not you had to agree to some things. Were there any terms that you two discussed before you officially put it on the schedule?
I agreed that I would provide all of the props needed for Max's trip.
What props were needed for the bullet catch?
Just two, blank bullets and a gun.
You just told us that blanks and a gun are needed for this trip. Today, opposing counsel has talked a lot about those blanks, so I want to focus on that. Who was responsible for getting the blanks for this show?
Our prop master, Angel Ashmore, was in charge of getting the blanks.
Do you know what kind of blank she purchased?
She went to a reputable gun store in the area, and she was able to buy blanks on a 2-for-1 deal, along with real bullets. It wasn't ideal, but we had tried originally to buy them new online, and they were on back order. But in business, this is just the realistic thing you have to do with the resources you have. It was the best call for Max's safety to go ahead and get those blanks.
You were here during opening statement, right?
I was, yes.
Did you hear Miss Nelson say your prop master loaded a real bullet into the gun for the bullet catch?
I did hear that, yes.
Do you think that's true?
Absolutely not. Angel and I understood that having real bullets on set is incredibly dangerous. Angel told me herself that she had separated them, double, triple checked, and taken them far off the premises.
Miss Lampert, I want to shift to the night the bullet catch was performed. How the night started.
The night started great. I was ringleader that night, so I was watching Max's act from behind the curtain. The lights were shining and people were smiling, laughing. The audience was packed. People loved Max. They were just feeding off of his energy. That's why I do this. And Gabby grabbed the gun and aimed and fired. And then he fell.
What happened after Max fell?
It was obvious that he'd been shot. And that the trick had gone wrong.
What did you do?
I mean, I couldn't do anything but watch. I looked out into the audience and saw the faces of parents, kids who would never be the same again. I had to keep my composure for my staff, try and give orders, keep everyone in line, but it was soon before the police got there. And at that point, they told me to stay back. Nothing I could do. I was devastated.
Why?
I just kept thinking of my dad, how he put the business before everything. I felt like I'd done the same thing with Max. I mean, I know that I approved of his act, but I trusted his professional judgment that he'd done it before, that it would be okay. I just wish I'd never let him get up on stage in the first place.
Thank you. Miss Lampert. Nothing further.
Thank you, Counselor. Any cross-examination?
Yes, Your Honor. Ma'am, a moment ago, you said that it was Maximilian who first suggested the bullet catch trick. Do you remember that?
Yes, ma'am.
I want to be clear. It was actually your idea.
I was thinking of ideas to make the show more exciting, and that's when Max suggested the bullet catch.
She said you were thinking of ideas. You agree with me that last year you needed the bullet catch trick to happen no matter what, right?
We needed something exciting for the show, yes.
Not just something exciting, the bullet catch trick specifically, right?
Sure, Max seemed confident in it, and I thought it was a great idea.
And after you said you needed the bullet catch trip to happen no matter what, you guided Max to that trip, right?
Of course, I suggested it, but he seemed confident in it and I approved of him doing it.
Let's talk about why you might have suggested that trip. Because the carnival is important to you, right?
Extremely important.
Your family has owned that carnival for 5 generations, right?
Yes, ma'am. It's something we're very proud of.
It's been in your family for over 100 years.
Yes, ma'am.
You said you worked hard for decades to be able to own that carnival, but
Objection, Your Honor, pursuant to Rule 404 character evidence. Can I may be heard?
Yes.
Yes, Your Honor. Now, right now, opposing counsel is going into the defendant's past actions of working hard to support her carnival to show that that's exactly what she's doing today in her testimony. That's improper character evidence, and it's not admissible in this case.
may I respond, Your Honor?
Yes.
This is going to the witness's bias. We're certainly not saying that because she worked hard, she actually worked hard in the present. We're saying she didn't work hard and something went wrong.
Overruled.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ma'am, that's yes to my question. You'd say you worked hard for decades to make sure you were the owner of that carnival.
It was passed from my dad on to me. It's already in my life.
Yeah, you want to make sure that you're running the company in the way that makes your dad proud.
Absolutely.
And now your father's company, the one you worked so hard for, it's being sued, right?
It is, yes,
And see all these people sitting in the room here today, right?
I do.
You see this camera, it's been pointing at you their entire testimony.
Yes, ma'am.
And you don't want your company to be found liable of killing someone in front of all of these people, do you?
No, I don't believe that we were responsible for killing Max in the first place. I tried to trust his judgment. I mean, he was the magician after all. I thought if anything, it'd be unsafe for me to fill in on his profession.
That wasn't the answer to my question. It's a yes. You don't want your company to be found liable for killing someone, right?
I don't believe we're liable for killing someone.
Well, let's talk about that. Because you talk about conversations with Maximilian and him knowing the risks, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Let's talk about if he actually was informed of those risks. Because you told Max that you would buy him brand new props, right?
We did initially promise that, yes.
Man, that was a lie.
No, it was a genuine initial promise. It wasn't a lie.
You said initial promise, that's because you didn't follow through on that promise, did you?
No, ma'am. We were unable to follow through on that promise. But I told our prop master on help to let Max know.
Ma'am, that's a yes to my question. You didn't follow through.
No, ma'am.
Instead of
Unfortunately,
getting him a brand new
Objection,
gun.
Your Honor, to argumentative. The witness could just be allowed to finish her statement.
If you could just let her be a little less argumentative.
Of course. Ma'am, did you finish your answer?
unfortunately, we weren't able to follow through on that promise.
Right, because instead of getting him a brand new gun, he actually bought a used gun secondhand.
Yes, it was a very reputable used gun from a known retailer in town.
And if you pick up that contract you were talking about before,
Yes, ma'am.
nowhere in that contract does it say, I understand I'm going to be using a used gun, does it?
No, we don't talk about any equipment beyond promising to maintain any needed props.
Nowhere in that contract does it say, I understand that the carnival will give me blanks and bullets.
That is stipulated in the promises to provide and maintain any needed props.
Nowhere in that contract does it say, I understand there may be a real bullet in that gun, does it?
Under no circumstances would there have been a real bullet in that gun.
Under no circumstances. Well, let's talk about if there was a circumstance where there was a bullet in that gun. Because you heard today that Angel Ashmore was shooting bullets out of that gun.
I did hear testimony of that today, but that seems incredibly out of character for us.
Yeah. You heard from Mr. Tabthorne that Angel Ashmore had a box of bullets and a gun in the prop, right?
I did hear that, and again, that wouldn't have been a possibility. I was with Angel when we sorted through the bullets, and he disposed of them that same day.
Yeah. Is it your testimony that Mr. Thorne was lying about that?
No, I'm not saying that Mr. Thorne was lying. I don't know why Mr. Thorne would say that. I just know for a fact that Angel separated the bullets and disposed of them incredibly carefully.
So it's your testimony that when Mr. Thorne took the stand under oath, he was wrong. Is that true?
I can't say why he said or did certain things. I truly don't know why he would say that.
Well, let's talk about the other witness we heard from. Because you heard another eyewitness take the stand and say the same exact thing, right?
Pardon me, say what?
Well, you heard an eyewitness take the stand and say they saw Angel Ashmore with a gun and bullets on July 13th.
Yes, again, there would have been no possibility of real bullets being on our campsite.
No possibility. You heard that eyewitness take the stand under oath. Say Angel Ashmore was loading bullets into that gun.
Of course, I mean, it would have been blanks in that case. Like I keep saying, I was with Angel when she told me that she had separated those blanks from the real bullets and taken them off the site immediately.
And I'm not asking you to guess whether or not there were blanks or bullets. I'm asking you what you heard today. And you heard that eyewitness say it was bullets and not blanks in that gun. True?
I did hear that, yes.
So your testimony, that eyewitness under oath was lying about that too?
Again, I don't know whether they were lying or not. I can't say why they said what they said on the stand. I just know for a fact that that wouldn't be true. That would be an impossibility.
Let's talk about if your prop master did their job, because ma'am, they were in charge of the props for the entire carnival, right?
They were, yes.
And you fired 2 other assistants that year.
Yes, ma'am. Angel had gotten to the point where she was confident in her abilities and we were able to lay off the other 2 employees.
And I want to be clear, you never saw Angel Ashmore checking that gun at all, did you?
No, I usually have other duties throughout the day. Angel was doing that on her own time.
Thank you. I have nothing further, Your Honor.
Thank you, counsel. Redirect?
No redirect, Your Honor. We just asked that Ms. Lambert be excused.
Ms. Lambert, you may be excused.
Thank
you. All right, and with that, I think that concludes this trial. Give yourself a hand. Me and the jury, we just need to do our questionnaire and then we'll do comments.